Hello everyone, I'm K-Swope. In 2019, Joker was an unlikely hit at the box office, making $1 billion worldwide on a $55 million budget. Knowing Warner Brothers, they were obviously going to greenlight a sequel with that kind of money on the line. But can Warner Brothers make lightning strike twice? And is this a worthy sequel? But most importantly, is it good? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the question that we are going to answer by the end of this video. Now, here's how this is going to look, everybody. So with my reviews, when it's a movie that just came out at the time of the recording, I split things up a little bit differently. So I talk about the good things about the movie, I talk about the bad things about the movie. Now, I'm going to start this off giving the spoiler-free portion, and I'm going to give a more in-depth spoiler section later on. So check out the timestamps below. That'll let you know where to skip to if you do not want this movie spoiled for you. The other thing that I'm going to mention as well, I also give the movies a rating on a scale from 1 to 10. 1 meaning it is the worst piece of crap I've ever watched. 10 meaning it's Citizen Kane. So keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. I will be doing that at the end, but we're going to go ahead and move into the spoiler-free section of my review. We're going to start things off with the good. Now, this movie, just like the last one, the cinematography is beautiful. There's a lot of really nice shots. It's just shot very, very well. And even when there's a scene that's slow, there's not really much going on, there's a lot to look at, and that really is awesome because the plot, the pacing, it's not that the pacing I don't think is bad, it's that the plot is a little slow at some points, and so it helps having really good camera work because even though not much is going on, there's still something interesting to look at, and it's still piquing your interest. You're still very intrigued to see what's going on. So I got to give it big props for that. The other thing, the score in this movie, it's the same composer from the first Joker movie, and if I'm not mistaken, she actually won an Oscar based on her work in the first Joker movie. So she's back. She is doing it again right here, and of course it sounds fantastic. The score is amazing. But there's more music in this film than just the film score, and that is something else I want to talk about. The music itself, I think, is really enjoyable. What I mean by that is that the singing, I think Gaga, especially Lady Gaga, she does a fantastic job. I mean, she's an incredible singer. We all know that. So there's no surprise there. She does a great job. Joaquin Phoenix, he does a pretty good job. I mean, he's nowhere on the level as Lady Gaga, but either way, I mean, he played Johnny Cash in Walk the Line, so he does have the singing abilities. The one thing I will say, maybe he had a harder time pulling off all the stuff in the songs that they wanted him to do, because I'm not sure if his range is all that dynamic, but it didn't sound bad from what I heard. I don't know if they use any type of like auto-tune or anything like that. I saw it with my mom and my brother-in-law, and my brother-in-law thinks that they may have used a little bit of auto-tune. I'm not sure, but the point that I want to make is that I do not think Phoenix did that bad. I enjoyed his performance, and that's the important thing. His acting was also great. So was Gaga. So was everyone else involved. The acting in this movie was fantastic. It was not phoned in whatsoever. I know it can be easy to have the cash grab mentality when you're making a sequel to a first movie that's a big hit, but I still feel like all of the actors poured everything they could into their characters, which was fantastic, and that really shows and that really shines. Another important thing to say, too, the choreography along with the singing was also fantastic. There's a lot of spectacle in there, which was great. So, like I said, it kind of ties into the cinematography, too. Something interesting to look at. I know for me, my only thing about musicals I don't really like sometimes is that I feel like the musical numbers are just kind of boring, and they're just kind of people dancing, not like much exciting's happening. But in this one, whenever characters are singing and dancing, there's always something that's still keeping you interested. So they're still lingering on certain ideas and thoughts for a while, but they don't hang on for too long that you get bored. And that, my friends, unfortunately, is about all I can say about the good of this movie. We're going to go into the spoiler-free version of the bad stuff. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, you can check the timestamps, and we can talk more about the spoiler section in the spoiler area, so keep that in mind. But non-spoilers, the bad things. The third act ruins this whole movie. And it makes me... I don't know. This is a really hard movie for me to talk about, okay? Now, I know I start with the good stuff, so I was trying to hold back as much as I could, but I have so many problems with this movie, specifically the third act and how it ends. And let me tell you about stuff. So, in the first Joker movie, not a lot too exciting happens. There's something exciting that happens at the end of Act 1, but then whole Act 2 not a whole lot exciting happens, but it's kind of a slow burn and everything is kind of welling up and it's getting ready to just pop and it's ready to burst and it's getting ready to just go off. And then it has a really exciting third act when it goes on the Murray Franklin show and everything. And that is just very energetic, very exciting. And it feels like, okay, all of this build-up paid off. So in this movie, I was expecting something similar because they're introducing these plot points here and there. Talk a little bit more about what they are in the spoiler section. But they build this stuff up, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, this feels kind of slow. Yeah, it's kind of boring. But knowing what I know about the first movie, I know that they are building toward a bigger, exciting conclusion. And so I sit through there, watch the movie, stuff happens, and then by the end of the movie, it's like, none of the things that they seem to be building up paid off at all and really did anything. Which, again, it really hurts. It's kind of painful for me to talk about because I loved the first Joker movie so much. In fact, on my rating system, I haven't rated the Joker yet on my channel, but if I were to do that, I would probably, I'd have to rewatch it, but from what I can remember, I'd probably honestly give it a 10 out of 10, which is something I've yet to do on this channel. So that's pretty crazy. I think that's why it hurts me so much to talk about this movie, and I get so frustrated and angry, is because the first one was so great, and this one had the seeds. It had so much in place that it could have been great, and it just wasn't, because it just takes everything and it throws it away. And that's what just makes me so mad. It's probably, honestly, out of every movie that I've seen this year so far, it is probably the most disappointing movie that I've seen, mainly because this and Deadpool and Wolverine were the two movies I was most excited for this year. Deadpool and Wolverine, I enjoyed it. It was good. It didn't have a really strong plot, but then again, everything else was still it was a great time at the movies, very enjoyable, so I'm not complaining about that. I didn't expect it to have a really great plot, per se, but this movie, it's like, I wanted the plot to be so good because the plot was what made the first one so good, and this just, it all falls apart, and it's bad, honestly, and I hate saying that so much because I wanted to like this movie so much. I was so excited for it, and then just, I leave the theater and I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself now because this was something. There's that. I only have 2 points in my non-spoiler free. That's one of them. And the other one, this is the bad section, of course, is that most of the music feels unnecessary and doesn't really add anything to the plot. Because, like I said in the good section, it's good, it looks nice, it's performed very well, but it really doesn't add anything. And that's basically contradictory to what Todd Phillips said the music was going to do, which it was going to add things and make things more exciting. It definitely made things more fun to watch, I guess, but didn't add anything. Like, I feel like if you cut all the musical numbers out of this movie, you really wouldn't miss anything. But then again, there also isn't a whole lot to miss because, like I mentioned before, the whole third act is just dumpster fire, honestly. And again, I hate that I'm saying this about the Joker sequel, honestly, because, again, I loved the first one so much. It was so good. I loved it. And now this one comes out, and it's just, it hurts my soul. That's the only thing I think I can say. It's just like, I don't know what to do. So, anyways, I don't know. We're going to go ahead and move into the spoiler good section and the spoiler bad section. So, let's go ahead and cleanse our palates one more time. Go back to the good stuff. With spoilers now. Here's some good things I can say. I can say that the opening had I knew this was going to happen because this was kind of like leaked a while ago. It was going to have a cartoon, like a Joker cartoon, that looked like an old Looney Tunes cartoon. It was there. It was animated very well. It was very great at catching your attention straight from the beginning. But it didn't really add anything. It added the idea that the Joker was going to be wrestling with the concept of dual personalities, if you will, which honestly is really stupid because in the first movie that wasn't the case at all. I was kind of rolling with it for now because I was thinking, okay, maybe they're going to be like tossing that around because there's a lot of courtroom stuff in this. Maybe they're going to be tossing that idea around and trying to use it as the plea for insanity for Arthur so he doesn't have to basically live with the crimes that he committed in the first movie. And I mean, they were trying to do that, but then they kind of lean into that theme again of like the Joker, who is the Joker, what is the Joker, that kind of thing. And yeah, I'm getting into the bad stuff again. I don't want to do that because I'm in the good part section. We'll get into all that later. The song selection, I will say, was really good. It fit the tone of the movie very, very well. Again, not a whole lot more to really say there, but overall, the music was satisfactory. I almost feel like if you just took all the music out of context in the movie, just watch the musical scenes, that's probably a better way to enjoy this movie than actually sitting and watching through the whole thing, to be quite honest. Something else that's really nice that I noticed too is in the movie, and I kind of wondered if they were going to do anything with this. Harvey Dent is in it. He's the assistant district attorney, and he's the guy in the courtroom doing his courtroomy thingies on behalf of the people of Gotham versus all the crimes that Arthur Fleck committed in the first Joker movie. And so seeing him in there was great. Obviously, he is Two-Face. I kind of wondered if that was going to happen, and it kind of did, because what happens, again, big spoiler, at the end of the second act, a car bomb goes off right outside the courthouse, busting a whole wall out, a whole hole in it, and Joker eventually, escapes. And during this pan shot, where it's kind of impressive actually the way that scene was done. Again, great cinematography, because it's kind of like a whole one take where he goes out and he runs into the streets and stuff. But during that whole sequence going on, you can see Harvey sitting there, and one half of his face looks all it's got some nicks and cuts, and it's kind of half swollen. So it's it didn't really look Two-Face yet, but it looked like, okay, yeah, we're getting a little bit of Two-Face there. But that's really the last we see of it, so we don't really get to see any Two-Face, but we do get to see a little glimpse of Harvey Dent becoming Two-Face. So that was pretty cool. I enjoyed seeing that. But now we're going to move on to the spoiler bad section, and nothing matters in this movie, and it makes me so upset, not going to lie. Again, I have a hard time talking about it because I'm going to get super emotional about it, and it's just it hurts. That's what I can say. It hurts my innards to talk about this. So there's so many plot points and ideas that they just set up, and again, it's all meaningless. They just drop so much. They might bring it up, they might evolve this idea, this point as it goes along, but it never amounts to anything important. And that's what's so annoying. So first of all, the first one, and this one might kind of sort of get answered, I really don't know, but dropped ideas. So there's the idea that Harley Quinn is pregnant with Joker's baby. That may have been a manipulation tactic, because she's obsessed with the Joker, not Arthur Fleck, if that makes sense, as far as the dual personalities, if you will, goes. And so she basically does that to try to, what's what I'm looking for? Hold on to him, if you will. Try to get him wrapped around her finger. And at the end, he confronts her. He throws this whole idea of the Joker behind him. He's like, screw this. I don't need to be the Joker anymore. I don't need to whatever. He goes to her, and she's over him now. She doesn't like him anymore because that's what she loved. She loved the Joker. And then he asks about the baby, and then she just sings a short reprise of That's Entertainment, which makes me want to think, okay, she was lying about the whole baby thing, but there's no real closure on that, and so I really don't know what the heck to do with that information. I don't really know any of that. I wonder if they were trying to make it ambiguous, and they just flopped so hard that it's not interesting. I know in the first Joker movie, they tried to make it ambiguous if the Joker's neighbor, Zazie Beetz' character, if she was killed or not. People were really skeptical about that. They confirmed that she indeed did not die in this movie. I don't know if they were trying to do something like that there, because if they did a terrible job. No offense. No offense, but you should be offended. The other thing to make a big deal about, too, is that Arthur's only being charged for killing 5 people when he killed 6, because I guess they did not pin his mother's death on him. And that idea keeps getting brought up in the movie, and they're not doing anything with it. So, I don't know. Again, just they bring stuff up, and it's meaningless. It does not mean anything. It has no effect whatsoever on the plot, and that's just... Again, it makes me so frustrated. I keep saying this, but it hurts. It hurts as a fan of the Joker character in the comics. It hurts as a diehard fan of the first Joker movie. So, again, it's painful. It's I feel like I'm pouring my heart out right now, even though I'm kind of not, because it's just a movie review. But either way, it's just it hurts. Leaving the Joker behind thing, again, I think that was stupid. He has these guilty convictions after his court trial happens, because it kind of all crashes and burns. And yeah, I mean, there's really no closure for that, really, because what happens, big spoiler, by the way, at the end of the movie, some guy in his, I don't say prison, it's not a prison, some guy in Arkham shanks him like multiple times in the stomach, killing him, and Arthur Fleck just straight up dies, which I also really hate, but yeah, like, we don't see about that. During that scene as well where he gets killed, they set up that someone's there to see him, and so he goes into the hallway, and that's why him and this guy are alone, because he wants to tell him a joke, and the joke ends up with him getting Murray Franklin, if you catch my drift. So, that's interesting. Maybe, now that I'm sitting here talking about it, maybe the idea of this ending was that Joker has now become Murray Franklin, and his followers have become new Jokers, maybe, and it's sort of like a cycle of violence in a way. I really don't know, but that's at least some food for thought. We can just, I don't know. We can discuss that in the comments if you're watching this. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. But again, make sure you put a spoiler warning in your comments, because I don't want people who don't want the movie spoiled for them spoiled. So keep that in mind. The other thing I noticed too, and I've seen a handful of other YouTubers review this movie now because they all agree that it's pretty much bad. But one thing I've not heard anyone bring up, and this is very important, is that this whole courtroom plot of this whole movie, which is like the whole like last 2/3 basically, they steal so much from a man that you probably know. You've probably heard of this guy. His name is none other than Ted Bundy, okay? Ted Bundy, notorious serial killer. He killed a lot of women. But there's so many parallels with what happens in this movie to what happened in Ted Bundy's court cases. Now, here's what those parallels are. For one, Ted Bundy got his, I don't know if it was girlfriend, wife, or whatever, he got her pregnant while this whole thing was going on. And that's kind of what Harley Quinn was kind of sort of doing. Whether or not it actually happened, I don't know. But there was that. And then the big one is that Ted Bundy, toward the end of his trial, fired his lawyer. And that's exactly what Joker does. And they kind of do the same thing with it, too, because they both basically make it almost like a game. They just kind of start, I don't know, showing off, being weird, making headlines, making a big whoop-de-doo, making a whole, for lack of a better term, circus out of all of it. So, yeah, it's very fascinating, those parallels. And I'm surprised no one's called that out yet, because I was watching this movie. And as soon as the lawyer was fired, I was like, this is just Ted Bundy. This is literally just them telling the Ted Bundy story, but as the Joker. Don't know why they chose to do that, but it certainly seems kind of strange. But that's going to conclude most of my thoughts of this movie. As I said before, it's kind of hard for me to talk about, just because it's so, like, hard to put into words how disappointed I am, if that makes any sense. So, if we go back and answer the questions that we asked up in our opening, those questions being, can Warner Brothers make lightning strike twice? The answer to that is no. Is this movie a worthy sequel? That answer is also no. Is this movie good? No, it is not, unfortunately. And for that reason, I am sadly going to have to give this movie a 4 out of 10, which is the lowest score I've given so far in my YouTube career. Mainly because most of the movies I've seen so far that I've reviewed are movies that I already know and like oftentimes. So I'm a little biased there, but I'm hoping I can, bring in some new perspectives. So we got a 4. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude my review. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this review, you want to see more like it, want to see a little more commentary videos as well, please check out the rest of my channel. Please subscribe. Don't forget to ring that little bell down there. That'll be greatly appreciated as well. Once again, what are your thoughts on Joker? Please leave a comment. Please like this video as well while you're at it, and I'll gladly entertain whatever thoughts you have in the comments. I wanted this movie. I'm very much looking forward to it. Oh, if I'd only seen that the joke was on me.